Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to San Jose. I'm Dennis Ackerman. I'm your interview moderator. Just want to remind everybody, turn off your cell phones. Flash photography or video is not permitted, that the mics are live. Any comments can be heard over the speaker and potentially recorded. When asking questions, please state your name and affiliation. We will begin with Purdue's student athletes. Trey Kaufman-Wren, Fletcher Lawyer, Braden Smith. We'll go ahead and open it up to questions to begin with. Right over here, please. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us.
Hey, guys. Sorry. Greg Doyle from the Indy Star. Fletcher and Braden, you guys came in with Cam Heide. This happens in March Madness all the time. You guys play, guys you played with before. But what's that like to play a recruit that you came in with together?
I mean, yeah, we obviously he was with us when we committed at Purdue, but this is my first time doing that, so I don't know. Obviously, he's chose a different path, and obviously we supported that and wanted what was wanted best for him, and that's what he thought it was. So it's just a basketball game.
Yeah, a little interesting, just because that's a guy that we lived with for 2 or 3 years. So spent a lot of time with him, put in a lot of work with him, but now it's a Sweet 16, so it's time to go and time to focus on that.
Jordan Mendoza, USA Today. Braden, I know so much was made about the assist record, and I know you had told me before that you were just wanting to get it over with. So now that that's been done, does it feel like kind of, I guess not almost like a weight off your shoulders, but now that you can kind of just like forget about all the noise about it and now just focus strictly on the goal at hand of getting to the Final Four?
Yeah, a little bit. I think it's a mixture of both for sure. But like I said, I didn't come back for that. I came back to win and to be in a position that we're in now and to continue to keep winning. So for us, obviously, I think having that out of the way, it is nice, and just being able to focus on winning.
Hey, Trey. Greg again from the Star. Painter always describes you as a unique player. Has he ever given you any comps? Do you have any comps? And what do you make of that word, unique?
I don't really know. I just try to take a lot of things from different people's game and then do what it takes to win. I think that's kind of what I've tried to do. I've had a lot of different roles. I've done a lot of different things for the team throughout my years. So, no, it's I've always felt like, that's kind of his job to, place people in the right position. It's my job to exceed at that position. So that's how I've, dealt with it and felt about it.
Kirk Bowles from the Houston Chronicle. Braden, I'd just like to get what you make of Texas. They kind of limp into the tournament, lost 5 out of 6. Wasn't even sure they were going to be in. Now they've won 3 in a row. What do you think of their recent journey and what stands out about them?
No, it's impressive, obviously, when you're put in that position and the chances of you making that are low, and then they're here. It tells you a lot about them as a team and as a whole, and obviously they're very talented group. Obviously, they got a lot of guys in there that have played high-level basketball for a long time and continue to do so and are really good players, and we have that understanding. So for us, it's just like, just focusing on that and having that understanding and not going in, okay, well, they're an 11 seed, rather than going in like, okay, these are a lot of older dudes who understand how to play basketball the right way and are a good team. So we're just really focusing on that.
Lindsay Schnell, The Athletic. Okay, Trey, but if you could be like anyone, who would you want it to be? If you could build your perfect basketball player, like the height of Shaquille O'Neal with LeBron James clutch gene, what would that be?
Yeah. I actually used to play a game on what was it? It was the GameCube with my uncles. It's called NBA Hang Time. And so I would have a player who was 7'6". He could shoot threes. He could do everything. But no, for me, I have no idea. Like I said, I just try to, do what it takes to win. And each game is so different. Like we're playing, a Texas team, which is very different than a Miami team. And so my role in each game is going to just be different. So I think I've just tried to. I think what makes me unique is my ability to kind of change based on what is presented. If I'm playing against a a bigger opponent, maybe I'm going to go do some more, pick and rolls, for example. If it's a smaller opponent, maybe it's more post-ups. It's just I like to, try to bend my game based on who we're playing.
Matthew Ho, The Athletic. Bit of a fun question for you guys. I saw on Twitter last night on your guys' the Purdue men's basketball Twitter feed that you guys were playing Catan. What's kind of the backstory behind that? Has that been a thing you guys been playing all season? And are there any characteristics from Catan that carry over to how you guys maybe are as a team?
Yeah, Omer, we actually did a Navy SEALs thing where we slept in the locker room and trained all weekend, and we didn't have our phones, so we had to obviously find some time to do some other things. We brought a bunch of board games, and Catan was one that we played quite a bit, and Omer brought it this weekend. But we just got a great group of guys that like to spend time together, whether it's like poker or Catan or other games, shooting pool, whatever it is. We got guys that obviously like to spend time together, make jokes, and then when it's time to lock in for basketball, we're ready to go.
Yeah, for Trey and Braden, Pat Forty from Sports Illustrated, I'm just wondering if you could ballpark estimate how many times you two have run pick and roll together in your college careers.
Probably over 1,000 for sure. I don't even know. That's a good question, but a lot. I think it started, sophomore year, summer? Yeah. Because, they would never put me and Zach on the same team, when we play pickup or in practice and everything. So it was normally, Fletch and Zebo were always the two pair, and then it was me and Trey, and then we would fill everybody else from there. So I think we kind of started it from there because Trey would play the 5 and guard Zach and do that. So I think we just, obviously, like Trey said, he's got to be unique and find different ways. So when he's got a bigger guy, we got to adjust. So then that was kind of our adjustment, and I think it kind of started then. So, but I don't know. That's honestly a really good question. I don't even know the number.
Yeah, I mean, sometime, whatever. I mean, it feels like forever now. But yeah, just a lot of times over the years. It was always funny because early in my career, the coaches always wanted me to roll hard to the basket. And then we played in summer, and I don't know, I was probably just tired. And so I wouldn't roll as hard to the basket, and then we would get those short rolls, and then that's kind of where it started with, the floaters and making reads out of that. But no, it just seems like, it seems like yesterday, and it also feels like we've been doing it, forever.
Giovanni Canales with 90.5 KSGS Sports. This question goes for everyone. But it was mentioned before that Texas was on a losing streak, and now they look pretty hot, especially on the defensive end. Can you guys go through your specific roles in trying to break up whatever synergy a team has had, whether it's Texas or any other team that's coming off a hot streak, especially on the defensive end, how you go about breaking that up?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the important thing is they're just recognize that they're, a really good team. We had our streak for a little bit during the season where we were, losing a couple games. And understanding that, we're capable of becoming that team, or we're capable of becoming, I think the best team in the country. So each team kind of has that. So the fact that they lost later in the season doesn't matter because this is the team that we're playing now. With their team, they run a lot of different things, and they have a lot of unique players. So I think for us, it's just about doing our job and, communicating on defense.
Yeah, I think not really focused on that at all because we've played a team like NC State in the Final Four who had to win 5 games in 5 days to even make the NCAA tournament. So just focus on ourselves, making sure we're ready to go, and recognizing the amount of talent and depth that they have they can beat anybody in the country.
Josh Dubert with AP. How have you seen the impact Oscar has made, especially late in the season? For you guys, seems like he's really picked up Big Ten tournament and carried over.
Yeah, no, it's been honestly really helpful just having him down there. Obviously, just trying to limit him from fouling is the biggest thing, just because we need him in the game, So I think he's done an unbelievable job, just literally doing his job. And we have meetings, team player meetings at the beginning of the year, just like what each individual player wants to accomplish, personal for the team, all that stuff. And his was just to be the best rebounder in the country, and he shows signs of that every single game, and he really works hard towards that. And everybody has a role, and everybody has a certain task they got to do, and that's one of his, is that and rebounding. So for for us to see that and him actually do that, which obviously we never doubted that, but for him to keep doing that for us, it gives us extra opportunities and puts us in positions to win.
Thomas Dunn, bracketeer.org for Braden. Back when we were in St. Louis, when we talked to Miami postgame, they mentioned they wanted to put a concerted effort to throw length at you and Shelton Henderson. What lessons did you ultimately kind of take away from that game? And if you see it from Texas and other teams going forward, what ultimately adjustments are you going to make?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, every game there's length on me. I mean, I'm always the smallest on the floor, so for me it doesn't change. It's not any different from playing Michigan in the final of the Big Ten where Yaxel's guarding me or where Shelton's guarding me or whoever the case is. It's always like that. So I thought they did an unbelievable job. I felt like I was kind of out of character and just not playing how I should, and obviously I was frustrated with myself because I got to be better, especially in a game like that. But no, just being simple and making the right reads, I think is what I got to do, because obviously every team's gonna put, I'd assume, that their best defender and lengthwise and all that. So for me, it's just to make the right reads, make the smart plays, and keep it simple.
Kirk Bowles from the Houston Chronicle. Braden, I don't know if you had a point guard mentor or somebody you emulated. I don't know if it would have been Sean Miller, who was a pretty decent point guard at Pitt in his career.
Yeah, no, obviously, like, I'm aware of him and how good he was, and obviously recently I've seen a couple of his clips when he played, obviously since we got this matchup. But for me, I'm a big Steph Curry guy, so I'll watch Steph Curry. I watch the game a lot. I take it from a lot of different players, whether that's a Jalen Brunson, a Peyton Pritchard, Shea. I love Shea. Cade Cunningham, whoever it is. I watch a lot of different basketball. So there's really not one specific person that I watch. I take everything from the game of basketball itself.
Lindsay Schnell, The Athletic. Braden, I wanted to follow up on that. Steph is obviously known as a shooter. Do you think he's underrated as a passer? What have you learned in watching him as a passer?
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, you got to take what the game gives you, and I feel like he does that every single night, and whether that's him to score the ball or him to pass when they put two people on him. And I feel like more for Steph is just more about his journey and his story is what I've looked up to, and then obviously how he carries himself as a person and on and off the floor. Because obviously I'm super competitive and I kind of lose it sometimes temper-wise, just because, like, I want to win, and these guys would tell you the same thing. And I just watch him all the time, and Shea are the two people I really admire with that, because they're just so composed. They never are too high, too low, and sometimes I am too high, and sometimes I am too low, and just trying to find that balance. So I think that's really what I take most from him. But he's just my favorite player of all time, so that's just one of the things I enjoy.
Time for one more question. Anybody? Thank you so much for your time. Greatly appreciate it.
I wish. Yes.
Coach Painter comes up. We'll just have him do a quick statement, and then we'll dive right into questions. Coach, how we doing? Good. Excellent. Good seeing you. You too. We'll just have you give a quick opening statement, and then we'll dive into questions, if that works for you. You got about 15 minutes. Whenever you're ready, take it away.
Hello, everyone. Obviously, like everybody else, excited to be in the Sweet 16. We had a tough game, last game against Miami, Florida, and I think anytime you can get, nobody wants to be in those kind of games, but if you can survive it, I think it's good for you as you move forward. But just excited for our seniors, our players, to be in this position. We know Texas is going to be a tough match. Very good across the board, very athletic, very long, tough. Sean's teams always defend, rebound, and they're obviously playing their best basketball. And a little similar to us at the end of the year, where we had some losses, they've had some losses, but I think you can magnify a lot of different things. They've played better here in the tournament, we've played better. We've both defended better than we did in those stretches. And I think that's, what it's all about is like how you're playing, right now and how you got to be able just to push forward. But excited about the challenge. We know this is going to be a very, very difficult game.
Jordan Mendoza, USA Today. You mentioned both of you guys are very similar in this way the season ended versus how it was now. I'm curious, because it's not like the NBA where there's trades happening that can change the roster or anything like that. It's still relatively the same team. So what changes to change the complete tide and get on a hot streak when you're maybe been struggling for a bit?
Yeah, our losses that we had outside of Iowa State at home, we were really good offensively, and that really magnified the point that we weren't very good on the defensive end. And we've just made strides there. And anytime you can take care of the basketball and set your defense and take good shots, it's going to help your defense. So we've been doing that, and we still struggle defensively. So in the Big Ten tournament, being able to beat Nebraska, UCLA, Michigan, and then obviously getting that win against Miami, Florida after our victory against Queens, we've just collectively been better defensively. And it's not like it's been off the charts or anything, but if you look at it from a numbers standpoint, we just, we haven't had as many breakdowns. We've been better on the basketball. We have to have a presence on the basketball, whether that's in the post, whether that's on the perimeter, and we've just been better. We have a lot of experience. We have a lot of experience together, and it was just unfortunate, but it's also could end up being fortunate if you look at the silver lining. If that made us be a better team and play better at this point, then so be it.
Hey, Matt, over here. Seth Davis, Hoops HQ. There was a time when you were on everybody's list as the best coach not to make a Final Four. So we got a couple of guys here in Sean and Tommy who are on that short list. How big of a burden was that for you, the need to take that final step, and how much different did life get once you took that step?
Yeah, I didn't look at it as a burden personally. I looked at it as a burden towards Purdue. Like, I didn't like it. Like, people, if you're in the position as a head coach at a high major school and it bothers you when people say stuff, man, you're going to be in a tailspin for a while. But I didn't like them saying it about my school. And that, that affects you. But like, it wasn't like we weren't doing everything in our power to try to win games. Like, we had some really tough losses where we fought like hell to be in great positions in the NCAA tournament. We've lost games. We've also been able to win some of those games. And I think when you get to that point, everybody is just trying to help their team, but more than anything for us, we're just trying to help our seniors. Like, we have 3 seniors that have been together in their careers, and they've tied for the all-time winningest players in school history. If they get one more win in the NCAA tournament, it's the most wins ever by a group in the NCAA tournament at Purdue. So, like, those are the type of things that you want. But we're not in position to go to the Final Four right now. We have to beat Texas to be in that position. So,
Did you ever feel like personally you needed that to be validated?
Not really. I'm not worried about my validation. I'm just worried about coaching guys and helping them and winning for Purdue.
Matt, Kirk Bowles from the Houston Chronicle. I was just teasing Braden if he emulated Sean Miller as a point guard, and he said, yeah, I watched some recent clips of him. Is that the extensiveness of y'all's scouting that you're, looking back at the coach's playing career?
Yeah, he could be lying to you. He's a good dude, but he could be just, you could have shocked him. I heard it back there. I wasn't sure. But, like, yeah, when they asked him, when he was passing those guys, when they asked him to talk about Chris Corchiani from NC State and Ed Cota from North Carolina, he knew Bobby Hurley, but he didn't know Ed Cota and Chris Corchiani. And I was like, hey, man, those dudes were really good, man. But that was in my wheelhouse, not his. Like, you just don't know. If guys don't go and just have great NBA careers, these guys weren't alive, so they don't know. And so it was interesting. The thing that I thought was really cool about it was, when you have an assist record like he has, you can't do it on your own. Someone's got to score the ball. So if you think like Rodney Monroe at NC State with Corchiani, if you think all the greats, you know, at North Carolina and at Duke that those two guys played with. Like, it just kind of shows you like that it's pretty cool for us because Braden doesn't get the award without Zach Edey, Trey Kaufman-Wren, Fletcher Lawyer, and all those guys. So that's what makes the thing pretty cool. It brings out the greatness of other people that he's passed.
When you do the scouting report, do you do like the last 10 games, the last 3 tournament games, or every game?
We throw it all out there. Like, you just try to go on the season. You talk a little bit about their career, especially with the portal, because that gets a little dicey. Because you'll see somebody averaging 7 points who averaged 22 the year before at a mid-major school. And you're like, hey, man, he scored 37 against these people. And you're like, well, he hadn't scored in double figures in 3 weeks. You're like, well, it only takes 1 game to get beat, right? So, like, we talk away neutral. We talk last 5. And we don't go at them as much with it, but from a coaching staff and an analytics standpoint, especially someone's ability to shoot, like, you want to know, you know, even though their overall numbers might not be great, you want to know how well have they shot. How well have you shot? Free throws is important too. Last 5 minutes, things of that nature.
Lindsay Schnell, The Athletic. Matt, when we were all asking Braden different questions, and he was talking a little bit about his favorite players, Steph and Shea, and said that he really admires their composure and that sometimes he is not composed. He lets his temper get the best of him. What has that evolution been like over the course of his career, and how have you seen him grow in that? And how much does that play a role in him being like such a good competitor?
Right, yeah, he's very competitive, and I think you saw that, you know, a couple games ago when, you know, he ripped his jersey off and had to play that, just over missing open shots. That's all it was over. And, like, you know, but you would think in game 135 or whatever it is that you would get there. I don't think he's ever going to be that, but that's what makes him good, you know. And sometimes, like, there's nothing wrong with playing through your passion, but when you're emotional, man, you have to learn to move to the next play. And he still has struggles with that. Like, he still will be mad he turned it over, and then he'll have a breakdown defensively or vice versa, where you just got to move to the next play and keep playing, especially, you know, he has to be accountable. He has the ball in his hands at all times.
Hey, man, Josh Stubauer with
I got Matt, Pat 40 from Sports Illustrated. I asked Braden and Trey about how many 1,000 times they've played pick and roll together. What's it been like for you watching them, and really all 3 of you guys, just learn to play together so well for as long as they have?
Yeah, well, Braden and Trey, they have, you know, especially with the short roll, you know, they have a really good feel. Our assistant, P.J. Thompson, has done a very good job offensively of setting things up, depending on how people are guarding it, to get the ball in there. I always call it's the decision that leads to the decision. And so if you have a great decision maker passing it, then a great decision maker catching it, now he's got to be able to make that play. And it's very unique because he doesn't shoot jump shots. He shoots that kind of that push shot that he has, but yet if you come too strong on that, he'll make that pass for that 3 right there. But no, all of those guys have really evolved. Fletch has really worked from a physical standpoint to help his cause, putting in a lot of time, and to have the all-time leading assist leader with someone unique like Trey Kaufman, and then the guy that's hit the most threes in school history, and then just watch them grow together has been pretty cool.
Josh with AP. When did Oscar Clough first get on your radar, and just what sort of impact has he made on you guys, especially late in the year?
Yeah, it was a different recruitment. His college coach and his junior college coach ran his recruitment. So that's a little bit different. So they called us in February. His college coach called us in February to one of my assistants and said he was definitely going to leave, and he wanted a place that, you know, from a low post standpoint, but he wanted to go somewhere where they needed him. And so we played TK as an undersized 5 the year before, and we just didn't have the rim protection and the overall rebound position, even though we did get to the Sweet 16. And so it was just a perfect fit, you know, for us. But like, he's been great. He's been great. He works hard. He does a lot of dirty work for us, can rebound the ball, can pass the ball. That's something that I didn't know, how good of a passer he was. But very unselfish player.
Thomas Stone, Bracketeer.org. Matt, you and Sean have been doing this for a long time, but how have you kind of seen him almost, so to speak, reinvent himself from his time at Xavier, Arizona, back to it, and then now at Texas, compared to you at your at predominantly one spot. Have you seen Sean kind of reinvent himself over the years?
Yeah, this is the third place that we've played him. We played him when he was at Xavier, man, a long time ago. 15, 17 years ago. I think we played him twice and they beat us, if that's right. We played him in the Bahamas, if I got that right, in one of the best seventh place games ever in the history of basketball. So they had Ayton, and they were good, but they were number 2 in the country, and they lost all 3 games in the Bahamas, and so we lost our first 2, and we beat them pretty good in that magical 7th place game, and then we won 19 straight after that, and they won a bunch. They won like 15 out of 16. So like sometimes those things, even though you don't like going through them, they can really help you. But no, he's a great coach. You know what you're going to get from one of his teams. Like if you're going to earn your victory if you can get there, just because they're going to play hard, they're going to play together, they're going to play tough, and I think sometimes doing it on the quick turnaround, what he's had to do it is a little bit more difficult, right? Because now you're taking on a new job once again. So he did it at Xavier, now he did it again, at Texas, and so now you're trying to feel your team out, and so when you get to the end of the season, you want to be playing your best basketball, but you also want to be in a good position. It's a hard thing to do, but he's done a masterful job here, to be where they are, and to be able to be playing. But they have a good team, and now they're collectively playing well together. They're defending, they're fighting, they're scrapping, but they can make individual plays, and he's always done a good job of getting his best guys to play to their strengths.
Braden's obviously seen a ton of length this year on him just from the way he operates. When we were in St. Louis, Jay mentioned that having a guy like Shelton Henderson on him was kind of like a conscious choice. What kind of lessons did you learn as a coach when you see a guy like Shelton Henderson guard Braden Smith, and what you may ultimately see if an athlete of that type of caliber is on Braden the rest of the way? Yeah,
we've played a tough schedule in Braden's 4 years. He's it doesn't mean that he's not in a position where he could struggle with something like he did the other day. He had 8 turnovers. But he's seen it. There was nothing Miami did that he hasn't seen before. And that's what I always talk about. It's like relearning something or watching a movie again, and you just don't quite remember how it ended. You have to relearn things in the game of basketball. So they're going to put great quickness, great athleticism, great length on him. The key is kind of watching them and how they do things, but then also realize that they could change too. So the change isn't the biggest thing in the world. It's the adjustment to that change. And Braden does a great job making those adjustments and understanding that with it. But no matter who they put on him, they're going to put, size, athleticism, length on him, which most people try to do.
Time for one more question. Anybody? Okay, Coach, thanks for the time. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. What's that?